that we have about 30 people here so far, and we are expecting a bunch more. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for the affirmation in the chat. Good morning, and for participating in the space while we were waiting for our start time of 10:30. We want to make sure that you all recognize that the session is being recorded. And so we're going to hit record right now, I believe Sonia is. And you're going to need to hit that button to acknowledge that the session is being recorded. Or Sonia, do I need to hit the button as host? I'm sorry.
No, I have it on a silent recording, so it's already recorded.
Okay. All right, awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm glad you're here. We will go ahead and get started. If this is your first time engaging in a work session with me, will you just put an exclamation point in the chat for me? That tells me how deep I need to go into my introduction. Oh, Lord, there's a lot of y'all. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Are you ready? Okay. Oh, 2 exclamation points. Oh, okay. Wow. Wow. Okay. Thank y'all so much for engaging in that. So we are here. I hope you all are here for All Youth Matter. And we talked about belonging a couple weeks ago. And today we are going to be talking about cultivating youth voice. And so if you're not here for that session, you might be in the wrong spot. It's okay. But we're glad you're here anyway. We want to welcome you this morning. So prior to getting started, a practice I've learned to engage in is that of a land acknowledgement. And the land acknowledgement that I'm sharing this morning is from the National Museum of the American Indian in Washington, D.C. There's also a QR code on the screen if you'd like to scan it. But what that will do is that will take you to a website where you can put in your address and learn about the native lands that you are currently occupying. And so here's our land acknowledgement. We gratefully acknowledge the native peoples on whose ancestral homelands we gather, as well as the diverse and vibrant native communities who make their home here today. Part of that practice is just to remember, right? We have been here and we have been rooted in a whole lot of things that are maybe not natural to us or maybe now aren't comfortable to us. And we've been recognizing some things, but that's because we are on a land that has been inhabited by people that had rules, right? And ways of engaging that we may not be aware of. And so the space of the land acknowledgement is so that you can take some time and potentially learn about the native lands on which you occupy and learn about ways that you can positively impact the native communities where you live. Another part of the way I like to engage with folks, first off, is that we start off with group agreements. Now, one group agreement is that because we are on webinar, y'all, I really need y'all to use the chat and really be engaging with us today using the question and answer feature, because I am a facilitator that needs feedback, right? And so just really appreciating when I ask you to unmute or come into the chat that you do that. But we're going to just agree upon some ways of being for this next 54 minutes. So these are the SLPQA methods. And if you're not familiar with them, those are the social emotional learning PQA methods that Weicker put out a couple of years ago that I got certified in. And they're just a great basic way of acknowledging some things that need to happen in this space for us all to be successful. And so that we're going to remember that learning is social and that we have to learn from each other in community. This means that I am not the expert. I am here facilitating and curating some space for y'all to share with each other the things that have made you successful. Learning is emotional, right? I'll get emotional. I'll be talking about my granddaughters here a little bit. And so just recognize that it's okay, right? Emotions aren't, let's not categorize emotions as good or bad. Let's just recognize that emotions just are what they are, right? And that people are experiencing them. And it's really not our burden to fix, save, or solve that. Learning is cognitive. And so I'm going to ask that you do your best to focus your attention during this and fully engage your mind during this hour. I know it's easy to be checking emails and doing all the other things. I'm a Go Monopoly player and a Candy Crush player, and I can do those things really good in the background and stuff. But what I'm asking you all to do is to really engage fully your mind and your attention today. We also recognize that in varying ways, our experiences, bias, racism, all the isms, right? Geography, cultural backgrounds, all those things impact the way we learn. And so it's just important for us to recognize that. And so sometimes what I say to people after this is that if something comes up for you and it's really like irritating you in your throat area, like if it's red in your stomach, like figure out what that is, right? And maybe it's more about a response that you have for yourself than maybe it's a response for other people. So we just want to ask that you recognize that. And we're not going to, I call Fruit Ninja anything that anyone says here today, right? Because there are multiple versions of success, and what it means to be successful for others may not be the same for you. So if you all will agree to these 4 group agreements for these next 53 minutes. I'm using up all my time. Can you please drop a asterisk in the chat? Asterisk. Okay. Thank y'all. Thank you. See, we're up to 44 people. We're almost there. Good job, y'all. All right. I feel like I have consensus to keep moving forward. All right. Who am I? Right? Like I saw that some of y'all didn't know me. So I'm going to spend just about 4 minutes here in my introduction, just so that you all have a better understanding of what I'm facilitating, who I am, and why I was chosen to be in this space this morning. My name is Stacey Salters Jackson, and I am the owner and founder of Why Not Consulting. Why not? Because that's how I live my life. There are no no's in my life unless they're no's, right? And so my no's are very significant and they are built around my boundaries, right? And so if I say no to something, people know it's the real deal, because usually my answer to people when they ask me something is why not? So that's how I got my consulting name. My out of school time experience is here on the screen for you, and you will also get access to these slides. But I'm an original 1980s latchkey kid. That means I came home with the key around my neck. I watched Reading Rainbow. I got my own snacks. I did my own thing until my mother got home from work. And I was 7, 8, and 9 years old when I was doing that. So a little mature for a young person. And that is the reality of some of the young people you are serving today. I have 2 adult children, and most of their friends basically live with us. And so when I say that, I ran like out of school time programming out of my home for many, many years, because my house was a safe place for young people to be. They knew they could be there, they could be themselves, and that there would be high expectation for them to engage and to be the best that they could be in my house. I have 3 granddaughters who are 2. 2 of them are 3 and 1 is 6 months. And really, this whole thing about youth voice really solidified for me when I became a grandmother. These kids come into the world knowing, having access to a lot of information that we have no idea about. And just to watch their brains figure out things, it shows me that it's shown me, and I can say that I got in the way of my children and their curiosity and decision making and things like that, in the ways that I'm not doing with my grandkids. All the other stuff is up there. I've been an after-school program coordinator, a summer program coordinator. I was a program development coach with Kid Network. And also I serve on the board for 5 youth serving organizations here in Kalamazoo. All the other stuff is there at the bottom. I have some certifications and all that kind of stuff, but I don't really root into that much is all. But I recognize that some people need that information. So I have a bachelor's degree, my certifications as a school age program director. I had a degree and had to go back to school and take a class so I could do that. It's interesting. Trauma, WICER, PQA, SEL, and restorative practices. And so everything that I'm bringing to you today is a collaboration of all the things that I've learned and experienced. Woo! These 15 minutes sitting is rough. So what I'd like for y'all to do now is, because I really want to make and bring all 47 of you into the chat, is into the spaces. What I might ask you to do is to drop in the chat your name, your pronouns, and your favorite TV show or shows, and the organization that you're representing. And so we're gonna make some space for that, and I'll read some of these out. We have Donna here. When I share your program, if you need more information about pronouns, I can share that with you in a follow-up email. But we know that we have data that shows that sharing pronouns makes young people feel safer and more able to engage with the adults in their lives. So Christy, don't forget your favorite shows, y'all. Now Columbo is your favorite show. Thank you, Yarnell. All right, we got Christy here, Brian, Yarnell, Jennifer, Young Sheldon. Yep, watch that too. We got David here. Anything sports, college football. Okay. Kristen doesn't watch TVs. Okay, that's interesting. Movies if she does. Christy's favorite show is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I used to love that show. Lori is here. Reality TV. Allie, college football, Savannah, home, is a provider, likes music. Yes. Okay, college football, The Office, The Resident, The Shy. Oh, that's a good one. I mean, and like these are not, I'm not saying like anything's good or bad, but these are the things I just want to, you know why I asked this? Because I need new shows to watch. It's about to be my time off. So thank y'all for engaging, and thank y'all for being here today, because we recognize that you had choices and you could have been anywhere else and you chose to be here. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you. Charlie Brown is the famous classic. My granddaughters are really loving The Grinch, which is really interesting to me nowadays. So we're here to talk about cultivating youth voice. And when you hear that word, cultivating youth voice, in the chat, I want you to read, there's 3 words, there's 3 words there. Which word is really sticking out to you in that cultivating youth voice? Why did you come here today? Voice. Thank you, Linda. Cultivating voice. Cultivating voice, right? Cultivating voice, right? Because it's really not even about cultivating youth voice. It's about cultivating our voices, right? How do we speak up for ourselves? How do we learn, right? How to advocate for ourselves and make space for young people in our programs. We got to do all of our work, y'all, because when you cultivate something, that means you're bringing something from nothing, right? When you cultivate it, you have to work at it, right? Like we're not just getting vegetables off the ground, right? People are doing work to get our vegetables off the ground. And what is the work that we're willing to do and engage in to bring youth voice present into our programs, right? The second word, youth, right? Why do we use that word? Why do we use that word instead of cultivating kids' voice? Does anybody want to come off mute real fast and share why we use the word youth instead of well, instead of the other options. Does anybody want to come off mute? You can raise your hand. And if not, that's okay. No? Youth can go from 0 to 18. Yeah. I've even heard up to 26, Terry. I have a 26-year-old. I believe she is still a youth, even though she has 2 children, right? Thank you for that. Youth is also a way that we can like work to eliminate some of the hierarchy in our relationships, right? Because there are more older children and because they're smarter than we give them credit for being, right? If we even looked up the word youth and use that as our ongoing definition, right? We could do that, right? If we looked up youth, in fact, I'm about to do it right now because it's an idea that I had. It's the period between childhood and adult age, right? It's the whole scape. I'm still a youth. I live with my mom. She's 85. I'm a youth to her, right? Regardless, because that hierarchy is always going to be present when she calls me her daughter. But when I'm a young person or something like that, I can remove that hierarchy because I recognize the humanity in each and every young person and that they come and they have their own minds that don't necessarily need to be like molded, but need to be like figured out, right? And so our work is to support youth in cultivating their youth, their voice, right? So that they can then be our leaders, right? And without the skills that they get from the cultivating piece, we don't have people who can make decisions, who can say that's not for me, who can say why not, okay? So we got to start with belonging to get to youth voice. And this is from the Bridging and Breaking Dialogues of Belonging activity that we did last time when we were here. But we talk about belonging as a fundamental human need. You all have a fundamental human need to belong. There were some very specific things I did at the beginning to ensure that you all felt like you were supposed to be here, right? It's the intentionality of the work that we're doing. So when I think about belonging, I played music, right? Music from not my from older generations. So it's not specific to one group of people, right? I brought you in through the chat. I asked you a question, something about yourselves, right? It's real simple, it's real easy, but we have to do the work, right? Without it, they're not going to thrive. They're not going to be socially ready and they're not going to be emotionally ready. And I believe that that's where we're at with a lot of our young people is that they've been in spaces where they have been told to be without belonging and they've been tolerated and all those other the words that just feel icky, right? So let's get back into where we need to be. The youth-driven definition, and so when I say youth-driven definition, this definition comes from my former employer, the Kalamazoo Youth Development Network in Kalamazoo, and they asked young people what it meant to belong. And when young people say, when I belong, my racial, cultural, and interesting identities are welcome, valued, respected, and celebrated. When I belong, I feel motivated to be and do my personal best. Now, when you consider this definition of belonging, in the chat, what are some things that you can do to cultivate youth voice, knowing that this is what young people feel like they need to belong? What are some things based on this definition? Learn to celebrate difference, acknowledge them by name. Less being out in the world, I believe that's what that meant. Know their backgrounds, treat them with respect, Sharon, I would push that and to say, define what respect is, right? We hear that all the time. They want respect in me. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean, right? Talk with them, not at them. Encouragement. Oh, Sonia also shared feel free to raise your hand if you want to come off mute. Listen to them, know their backgrounds, opportunities for input, ask questions, ask them to share. Have a time to share culture, right? Including them in the program planning, right? When I was an after school program coordinator, I would say to kids like, this your program, I just work here, right? That for them shifted the whole hierarchy of our organization. Then they could hold me accountable. Miss Stacy, you said we was gonna have a field trip in the third quarter. Give them jobs, right? We have to do our work to get past our stuff so that we can see our young people. They have so much to give, except for until we tell them that they're not wanting to give it in the right way, right? And when we send out and we say that there's only one right way to do things, we're going to then limit their ability to be successful. I'm talking about myself. I'm not talking about young people I don't know. I'm talking about myself, right? Allow them to voice their opinions. I don't have to agree with their opinion, right? But their opinion is absolutely valid. Every thought, feeling, and experience we have is absolutely valid. And we don't need anybody to validate it for us. We just need people to be able to listen to our stuff, okay? And so if youth voice is crucial for empowering young people and promoting their active participation in decision making, why haven't we done that? If we know this, why haven't we done it? Does anybody want to guess? Or maybe people are doing it really well. We'll have a time to share that closer to the end. All right. Nobody wants to jump out there. It's like double dutch. It's because of adultism, y'all. Yeah, be interested in what they want to do. Thank you for that. It's because of adultism. We have bias against youth and young people because we work under an assumption that we are better than them. Because we have been 15. I have been 7. I have been 12. I know all of the stuff about being 21, right? And we know to not do some things, right? Keep your credit together. Well, I learned that lesson deep and I still did not keep my credit together, right? So this isn't just a young person thing. This is an everybody thing. Youth voice is an everybody thing. Oh, that's my husband closing the door because he's tired of hearing my voice. Everybody can say hi, Johnny. Sorry, that's my real life. How do we address our adultism? Because when we think about our bias, that's oppression. That's discrimination. I'm gonna tell y'all a story about my granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter. She'll be 4 in January. And one day she was climbing. She wanted to put a chair on the couch and sit on it. And I was like, don't do that. Like, that's dangerous. Like, I shut her down immediately. And she, right, she's 4, 3, so she kind of cowered for a minute. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. Hold on. Nana didn't even try to listen to you. What were you gonna do? And she's like, Nana, it'll work because, and she had already figured out how it was gonna work in her little mind. And I shut her down. And so I said, you know what, Nana, sorry. If you feel like you can do this in a safe way, go right ahead and do it. And she did. And I have a picture of her sitting on the couch in her bouncy chair because it was a good reminder to me that I have to listen, right? I can't just jump in. because it's a journey worth taking. When we see people walk into their power, into their um, responsibility, into themselves, it's so fulfilling. And she, like Nina, like right, like it's like done. I'm 50 years old, and I got a 3-year-old done me, right? Because I allowed myself to be done, and that's not really a stance that we take as adults. So let's work on our journeys in adultism by learning to look inward and acknowledge that I might be operating in adultism here, right? We're going to recognize and address it and make space. We're going to tell young people what adultism is so that they can check us on it. Uh-oh. How does that feel? Ooh. One summer we had our program improvement meeting, and y'all know about the whole process, right? So one of the things that came back was that staff were on their phones too much. And so in the program improvement plan, I printed out a picture of a cell phone. I put it in every classroom. And on the Monday meeting, I told every young person that was present that for the whole week, every time they saw a staff on their phones, that they could put a mark on this sheet of paper and that I would review it at the end of the week. Who celebrated that announcement? The young people, right? They were so geeked. I had kids running up to me at lunchtime. Miss Stacy, Mr. So-and-so got 3 marks on his paper, right? The staff were mad. How dare you give young people authority over me? I'm not giving them any authority. I told them to observe what they saw and document it. Those are skills that our young people have to be able to learn, right? So by the end of the week, I had 2 people that got a write-up because the young people, and I didn't question it, right? Well, they just did that because did they see you with your phone? Yes, they did. That's all that matters, right? Because I was very clear with them in the beginning. It was the best program week ever, right? Because they had a role that they were fulfilling, right? And they had some authority in that space. And so just work on adultism, y'all. That's really the biggest part of this work, is that working on ourselves and how we feel about young people, right? Even what we call them. Oh, thank you for sharing in the chat that it doesn't feel good, right? When we give young people the opportunity to say to us, you were wrong, or I don't think that's fair. When someone tells us they don't think something's fair, what do? Our minds immediately go to defend why it is fair, right? Instead, we can say, I get that. I can see why you see that from your perspective, but let me tell you why it's not fair from my perspective. I have 300 young people I'm responsible for. You have 1 young person you're responsible for. That's a big difference, right? And we can have a conversation about that with young people. We got to stop talking to them and talk with them, like somebody said earlier. Okay. What is this on your screen? Please, somebody have the answer. I don't want to have to start at the very beginning of this. What is the answer? What is this on your screen? And everybody can't be waiting around for somebody else to do it because we don't know who's going to do it. So if you don't know, put a question mark. Pyramid of program quality. Okay. All right, we got some people who don't know. Yeah. From Weichert. Yeah. No, I'm not looking for a label. It's called the Youth Program Quality Pyramid. Yeah. It's the pyramid of program quality. Yeah. Thank you, Jim. So, okay, so because there's some question marks, I'm gonna start at the bottom. This is a tool that is brought forth by the Center for Youth Program Quality, the David P. Weichert Center out of, I believe it's Ann Arbor or Lansing. I'm not sure. But they are responsible for observing quality and a significant number of programs in this state and around the country, actually. And so what this program pyramid says is that when you when you have a program and you pay attention to these things, that you can get to the top of the pyramid, just like any other pyramid, right? It looks like Maslow's hierarchy of human need. It looks like the food pyramid, right? They all look the same, and they all say the same thing. So if all pyramids say the same thing, and this pyramid has safe environment at the bottom, what does that mean? That means we got to ensure that there's a safe environment. And how do we do that, right? What does a safe environment look like, right? And so it gives you some questions to ask. There's an assessment associated with it, and it gives you some questions to ask, right? Safe environment is the foundation of any program, right? This program had to have safe environment, right? And so what that means is I have to be as a facilitator, and you have to be as a facilitator saying, making sure that there's psychological and emotional safety if they present, that the environment is physically safe, right? That there's appropriate space and furniture. When I coordinated a summer program for elementary kids in a middle school building, we had to buy new everything, right? Because I was not going to have kindergartners sitting at an eighth grader desk, right? So we have to have appropriate space and furniture, and also including healthy food and drinks, right? When we talk about food and drinks, sometimes the snacks, the hot Takis and juice, it's a snack, it's what they want, but is it healthy? Right? How can we incorporate some fruits in there, some vegetable snacks? Are we connected to our food pantries to get snacks, right? To get access to lower cost or free available snacks for our young people? Or are we just doing what we've always done? Are young people engaged in the emergency procedures? We all remember having to put the book over our neck in a tornado, right? What are the emergency procedures? Do they understand why we have emergency procedures? Sometimes it's not just is what it is. Sometimes you have to share why. And that is a humbling position for an adult to go in with a young person. Because we probably are from, most of us, some of us, are from the generation where we said that to just do it because I told you to do it, or because I said so. And we got to remember that didn't make us feel well either, but we say it to young people. The second part to getting to youth voice, the second step, and so let me just go back and say the reason why I brought the pyramid back, because the pyramid is associated with a rubric that you can use to attain success. And the rubric, and I'll share the link to the Weichert Center and the rubrics and the assessments in the follow-up email for you all. But the assessment gives you a place to start from, right? Any assessment, that's all it is. It's a place to start from. It's how to know where you're at. And when I became the after school program coordinator, I took this assessment and I said, this is where we're at. And then I asked my staff, because we were seeing things, and I learned that we were seeing things completely different, right? They were having hair braiding stations at lunch. And I didn't understand how that was high quality. But they tried to explain to me why it was high quality. And I said, why can't hair braiding then be an enrichment activity? Right? Because if hair braiding is something that the young people want to engage in, why are we making them choose hair braiding over eating? Help me understand, right? So I took this assessment and I went through, and until I had all fives or close as I could to fives in safe environment, then I moved up to supportive environment. because somebody just put Kristen said, young people cannot learn if they don't feel safe. Nobody can learn if they don't feel safe, right? You got to know how long I'm going to be here, who's going to be there, all those things, right? Who, what, when, where, why, how. If someone asks you to go somewhere, it's the holiday season. Someone says, hey, come to this thing with me. What are the questions you're going to ask? Who's going to be there? What's it for? How long is it, right? I don't know them people. That's usually my response. I don't know them people. I ain't going. Or I know them people. I ain't going, right? That's because I'm funny acting. But why don't we feel that we need to give that to young people, right? It's our learned behavior. So again, we can back up out of that, right? And we can use a tool that helps us identify what success looks like. Supportive environment, right? That means that young people are being encouraged during the program. They're being taught how to reframe conflict in the program. The session flow is going, there's an agenda. Young people know what time to expect things. They know when they're going to get a break, all that kind of stuff, right? Or they're going to have those group agreements that show what the session flow is going to look like or what's to be expected. A welcoming atmosphere, right? When y'all logged in, most of you, there was music playing, right? And some of you logged in a little early. And so we just stopped playing music early because we want it to be a welcoming environment. Bobby McFerrin's Don't Worry, Be Happy, right? That song, if you came in and that song changed your mode, right? Just consider that as a tool of belonging, right? And welcoming atmosphere. Active engagement. Are they being sat and talked to the whole time? Or are they being asked to do things, right? We know what to do. I think somebody put it up here earlier that our agendas get in the way, right? I think somebody put our agendas get in the way. Oh, we get too busy with our agenda. Yeah. So where on the agenda are we making space for youth voice? Where, right? Are we anywhere, right? We can have youth voice in anything, in any part of the program. You can have young people doing the welcome, right? If you got a talker or you got somebody that's an organizer, right? See their strengths and pull them into the thing. The next level, so after you get a safe environment in a space, you develop a supportive environment, they're learning something, right? When I ask my granddaughters, what did y'all learn today? And they'll come home and they'll say, I counted to 10 in Spanish. Every person should be able to go home and say what they learned from your program. And if they didn't learn anything, they're learning something, right? Are we talking about current events? Are we making space for young people to process all of the stuff that is happening? Or are we just expecting them to go on with business as usual, right? Are we expecting ourselves to go on with business as usual? There's a lot of stuff happening, right? So again, safe environment, supportive environment. Then we get to peer interaction, right? That's where they get to experience belonging. This is where you have, so that they feel safe and they feel supported. So now you can put them in groups, right? Because they feel safe and supported. Now you can have them learn, partner up with adults, right? They can lead and mentor other young people. But until you get them to this place, if they haven't learned the skill to be in a small group, if they haven't learned the skill, right, to partner with an adult, they're not going to be successful in engaging in life, being grown. I guess I need more, a little bit being, okay, I need a little bit more. I was also supposed to remind y'all, if you didn't have your name on your thing, to please put your name in your thing. Okay, so I'm gonna come back to this being grown because I want to talk about that a little bit more. So then, right, because there's skills involved in learning how to be in groups with other people. And if they don't have the skills to put them in groups with other people, don't put them in groups with other people, right? Level up those skills that they need. All right. Then you can get to youth voice, right? Like this is the thing. I want y'all to recognize and understand that you can't just jump into youth voice. It's a process to get there. And the process, again, begins with us and our exploration of the things that we are thinking and feeling about young people, the things that we are thinking and feeling about young people, right? And so Jim is asking, what kind of skills do we need to be in a small group? I need to know how to be an active listener. I need to have decision-making skills. Oh, this sounds like social emotional learning. I need to learn how to take space and make space, right? What kind of things have you noticed, right, in small groups that you don't really get down with? Those are lack of skills, right? The ability to not interrupt, the ability to not listen with responding in mind, right? So the social emotional learning skills are really the things that, in my personal opinion, get us to the place of being able to be successful in cultivating youth voice, because part of the issue is we don't even know for ourselves, right, what it means to have voice, because we're following the rules of the people who are ahead of us, above us, right? And so we still have to work through, again, doing our internal and our personal work to recognize why we still see youth in the hierarchy. Okay. Thank you, Jim, for asking that question. So does everybody get what I was trying to say in this pyramid? Is that you can't, like, if you haven't invested time and energy in making sure that you have a safe environment and a supportive environment, and teaching and learning peer interaction, that is going to be difficult to get to youth voice, right? And there are some ways that you can do that you have been doing that. And I want to make some space for y'all to share those things. All right. So, because I know you have been doing it, I'm going to I'm gonna share a Jamboard link, which I in a very smart way dropped in the beginning of the chat, because I'm so smart. And have y'all had, okay, let me see, experience with Jamboard? If you've never seen a Jamboard before, please put a period in the chat. Oh, okay. All right, awesome. Thank you. So I can explain it. All right, so I'm gonna stop sharing the screen for just a second, but the question is, in what ways have you successfully developed youth voice in your program? And so remember, when we started at the beginning, what did we say youth voice was? Do y'all remember? It's a crucial element for empowering young people, right? And you said that when they belong, they feel welcome, valued, represented, and celebrated. So you all have been doing that. And so with this Jamboard that I just dropped in the chat, I'm asking you all to click the link. And I see some of you are there. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna wait. And I recognize that some of you are on laptops or phones or whatever. You might be struggling. That's okay. But when we get most of you in the Jamboard, I'll give some instruction. I'll re-drop the link. It's in the chat here. All right. We got 29 of the 49. I'd like to get to a C, y'all. You know what? Oh, it says you can't edit. Doggone it. Let me try. Uh, it's just that, oh, edit, there it goes. Now you should be able to edit. Okay. So there are uh, three tabs here. Yours won't what? Maybe click out, just refresh your screen. Hit the refresh button at the top right here. Okay. Well, we'll just do what we can, okay? Appreciate y'all. And if you can't get access to the Jamboard, you can just drop your answers in the chat. So you'll see there are three sheets here. And what I want you to do is you navigate to the sheets by using this arrow. So if you have K through fifth grade, if you work with K through fifth grade young people, I want you to put your successes on this page. If you're in the middle school realm, I'd like for you to put your successes on this page. And if you're in the high school realm, I'd like for you to put your successes on this page. And you'll see what folks are doing. You'll come right over here to the side. You'll develop a sticky note. You'll type whatever you want in the sticky note. And then you just hit enter. You can change the color of your sticky note if you like, and then you just kind of leave it there. So I'm gonna make space for about 4 minutes for you all to either add sticky notes to the Jamboard of the successes that you've had. I see someone trying to annotate and write, but that's okay. Just click on the sticky note right here on the side. Yeah, right here. On the left-hand side, it says sticky note. It's the fourth one down. And if you're trying to take this to the other page, it won't go to another page. It's okay. Just drop it in the chat then. It's okay. Say what grade it is and what success you're having. And I will drop it on to the Jamboard. It's okay, Janice. Just drop your success. So what we're asking for is your successes incorporating youth voice. So what successes? So I'm asking you to drop it in the chat and we will put it on to the Jamboard. Just make sure you say what grade. I wouldn't have a no. I wouldn't know who yours is, which one yours is, April. Thank you for the reminder that there are also people here that work with preschoolers. That's all good. Put them on the K through 5 group. All right, we got about 1 more minute. All right. Let them pick the jobs. All right. So if you weren't able to do the Jamboard, I hope you're able to see it at least. Learning how to share. I know that's rough with them toddlers. I know that's a hard job. But if you can see the Jamboard, you'll also get, this will be a PDF I'll arrange for y'all. You'll have a copy of this as well. But you see, right? Let me share my screen again. You all are doing it, right? So in K through 5th grade or preschool, or however we're going to name it today, from 0 to 5th grade, that's what we'll name it. I'm going to change this from 0 to 5th grade. And next time I do something like this, I will have your own slide for toddlers and preschoolers. I get that. I apologize. That's not really being a belonging person. So, allowing children to choose the books that we read out loud and the books that they would like to read out loud. So how can we make that one a little bit more intentional, right? So these are all really great ideas, but let's think about intention behind them, right? So if I said today that using children causes hierarchy, right? Can we change that one, allowing youth or young people to choose the books they read aloud, that you read aloud, or the books that they read aloud? Is that an okay? Does that sound different even? Yeah. Yeah. It sounds much different. So if we can work on, right, commitments, right? If we can work on changing the language that we use for youth and young people, it's work, right? I have 2 adult children. That was new language for me, because parenting adults is much different than parenting young people. Okay. What another one on here? We have incorporate planning time with youth. How can we be more intentional about that? Is it scheduled? Is it monthly? Right? How do people get access to be on the planning team? Is it behavior based? Right? How can we be more intentional about all these things? Making everyone feel important. How do we make everyone feel important? How do you know you're doing that? Right? How do you measure success in these things? Going over to the 8th grade, 6th to 8th grade, daily youth jobs, any jobs that staff may need help with. Youth love helping staff. They do. My first job, I'm gonna tell you, my first job, because remember I was a latchkey kid at 7 or 8, but my first job at like 5 or 6 is that I went to daycare and my mom paid the daycare lady, right? And then the daycare lady gave me a job of helping with the preschool program. I'm in kindergarten, right? But I don't want to go to daycare because that's where babies are. So they gave me a job, right? That I got paid money, right? And so my mom was paying for the whole thing, right? But it made me feel like I needed to be there. What are you doing to make young people feel like they need to be there? A suggestion box. You tell what they want to do in the club, right? What is like what do the club options come from initially? So we have a club barrel, right? And we pick it out like so then we say, well, this was your program idea. I'm not even sure how come you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? I don't know what NYOY surveys are. Weekly reflections. And what are we doing with the reflection, right? What are we doing with the feedback that we do get from young people? Life questions for their age group, right? Like those are the things that get young people to like release the shell of who they are and really get you to knowing who they are. Okay. Lastly, with the success incorporating at the high school level, leadership groups, creating leader roles, advisory groups. Students made a dog house from recycled plastic and donated it. They chose the project, researched it, made phone calls, etc. Right. They own it. It's their thing, so they're going to do it well. You all will get access to these things. The board, because those are the ways that people are doing it, and so you don't have to start fresh. You don't have to start from the wheel, right? You can start up where someone else is at, and right, you can reach out to your peers and your colleagues that are here to say, hey, how'd you do that? Hey, I want to know. I don't understand. I need to know how we do that. Okay. So as we close out, Sonia's already dropped the chat, and the evaluation into the chat. But when we close out, we want to come back to this thought, right? This key that its youth voice is crucial for success, and it's the intentional work that you all have to do to incorporate that in your programs, incorporate that with your young people, and just be intentional about it, y'all. Don't do it on the fly as a checkbox thing. Ask them what they want, and they'll tell you every time. I promise it. Thank y'all for joining us. Please take the evaluation. If there's any final thoughts or words or questions, you can drop them in the chat, or Sonia can email them to me. Here's my email address if you'd like to reach out to me to do some specific work for you or your program. Thank you for joining us for Math Mondays. Have a great rest of your year and a great start to your new year, if that's when your new year begins. Thank y'all so much for coming. Oh, I should play some music on the way out, but no, because y'all just gonna be logging off, so I'm just keep my music for myself. Thank y'all so much for coming. Wham it up. I know, right? I was like, oh, I forgot about Wham. Thank y'all so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for engaging. Thank you for being here. When is the next